think one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made was when I was in year 9, and I betrayed one of my closest friends by not sticking up for him when he kind of needed me. And he was basically, there was a lot of bad rumours going around him with his breakup with his girlfriend, and it was like things of like he hit her, he was horrible to her, stuff like that. And I took her side basically straight away without hearing him out. And then I was quite unloyal, and then I actually ended up later down the line sort of totally not being friends with him, and then going out with that girl, which is it's very bad. But so that's kind of a big regret of mine, because you need to at least hear that person out, even if that person did do something, you got to at least hear them out, and even if they did do something bad, you still stick by them.
You got to guide them to look at what they did wrong and see how they can improve on it, and sort of and help them repent for their wrongdoings, I guess, if they're a true friend.
If I was to kind of hold that regret still right now, then it's kind of like the regret is like the shadow hasn't been overcome, and which like I kind of had to forgive myself through that and make sure that I'm like absolutely loyal from now on. This is also why they say, like, if you're going to go out and fix the world, fix yourself first.
Yeah, the shadow is such an interesting thing. It's why it's such a like revolutionary theory and set of ideas. But I think it's an idea that runs a lot through that book, through a lot of like depth psychology and psychoanalysis. Is that the problem is not necessarily the features of your psyche, because they're there, they're baked into experience, they're given to you because you're a human. Every human has a shadow. Every human has a part of themselves they don't want to look at, that they wish they didn't have, that contains their darkness. But the problem is not these psychic entities' existence. The problem is when there's conflict in your psyche that's unaddressed. So what that means is when the shadow is acting in your life through your unconscious, directing and influencing your feelings, your behaviors, the way you interact with reality and other people, when it's influencing you, but you don't know about it, or you're resisting it and you're repressing it. Everything in you, every drive in you, every part of your psyche wishes to be acknowledged in some way, even the darkest part of yourself. And what do we do about that? And that's why, Jung poses a great solution, which is integrate it, recognize it, say to your shadow through your feelings, your thoughts, your actions, say to it, I recognize you're there, I know you exist, but I'm not going to let that tear up my life. I'm going to channel your energy into doing something productive for me and my loved ones in the wider world. And I'm going to forgive you for being there, and I'm going to learn from you. And actually, once the shadow gets heard, I think that's the start of it being managed, I guess. And I think forgiveness is a big part of that. Do we have a choice between hating that part of ourselves or forgiving it, integrating it, and managing it? And I think I really like that that's where you've got to through your own thoughts.
Yeah. Hollis says that we may think we can run from the shadow, but it travels where we travel. And travel is kind of the right word, because you can think of this in a wider context of, the city of London, in that it's got all these opportunities, but it's also got deep corruption. And then you contrast that with another place in Devon, and that has its problems as well. It has its shadow. So, and you then use travel in the kind of individualistic context of, you can self-improve, but we still have desires, and our own shadows just going to change. It will still kind of be there. And there's also a good argument that when Jung says the shadow is unconscious, that suggests that, well, it's always going to be there to some degree because it's unconscious, so we just might not know about it. And that's what makes it powerful, because you don't know how bad you could be You don't.
You don't know what it is until it's influencing your sense of and behavior in reality. And yeah, you're so right. You never let go of sort of psychic forces that can tear your life apart. Like you might become the most balanced, most successful, most empathetic, joyful human being you want. But there's still going to be a drive then to slack off the things that got you there, to lose that humility and think you've completed it, and start losing that. You know, stability is destabilizing in anything we do. So it's not just it's not just like you integrate your shadow once and it's never there again. It's always there. It's always going to, but we love that. I think we should love that because it poses challenge and it poses a constant opportunity for self-development.
Yeah, when you said there about how it distorts your reality a little bit, or it could do, then I think Hollis used the words projecting, in that you're talking to someone one to one, but you're projecting it and you don't realize that, and it's changing the way that you interact with the world, but you don't know it. And though, to kind of conclude, it's Young said, our task in life is wholeness, not goodness. So I've been trying to figure out what that means. I think generally we shouldn't aim for goodness because it's maybe unrealistic, and that we all kind of are selfish in our own way, really. And there's going to be times where goodness isn't strong enough, and everyone's kind of nice until they're not. So I think this is a bit abstract, this conclusion of wholeness, but I think if we can continually kind of recognize and integrate our shadow, then I think that's kind of what he means.
I think goodness implies perfection. And there is no one human being in the world that is perfect. We are cursed by our ego, by our self-consciousness, by our social and political structures, by our connection with other people, by our intellect, like by our biological drives for like power and sex and violence and aggression. Like we are such a complicated creature that no one of us is 100% good. And I think what he's saying there is we shouldn't aim for this ideal of being good and perfect, because we're not. We do have darkness in us. We do have the capacity for aggression. We have the capacity to ruin other people's lives, and yet we don't. And that involves an integration of the good and the ugly to be the whole, be the whole person, a fully formed, integrated individual. And that was his theory of, individuation. That's what it meant to become a person, was to look at each individual part of yourself, your psyche, even the disgusting parts of yourself, the dark parts of yourself, the violent parts of yourself, the jealous parts of yourself, the toxic parts of yourself, and understand that they are all you, and do a productive thing with all of that and become stronger as a consequence of that self-examination.